Hello and welcome back to the Handstandcast with me, Emmet Lewis, and my co-host Mikael Christiansen. How are things going, Mikael?
Better. I better. It was, but I mean, it was sunny outside for like actually for 2 days. Holy shit, that was pretty insane.
Yeah, I have to say
I haven't seen the sun for like. Yeah, go on.
we had 2 days of sun here in Ireland as well, and yeah, it was great. We were outside
It's
training on the
madness.
lawn and walking around, and yeah,
Wow.
I know.
So yeah, here was it was not particularly warm outside. I mean, I was wearing a winter jacket still, but like just sitting in the sun and just feeling, oh shit, there's actually heat coming from the great sky orb. That was a experience I haven't felt for many eons. So that certainly helped the mood.
Yeah,
Yeah, otherwise things are pretty much the same. But yeah, sun does certainly change one's mood.
yeah, definitely. We had a few days of sun. We got out. It's pretty good. I don't know. I got my new place, so I have no degenerates hanging around, which is awesome. Yeah,
That is incredible.
things are all looking up.
Emmett, like for you listeners, Emmett actually sent me pictures of the sheep that are hanging out outside of his house here today. That
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
I've got
Three
a
three different ones, aren't there?
no. We've got 4 sheep and a goat now. So yeah, to fill
Oh,
people
sick.
on, we rented a farmhouse outside Dublin, and the lady who was living in the farmhouse has she's moved out, but she still has a basically a pet farm. Basically, she owns a petting zoo. This is the way to describe it. She has like 4 sheep, a goat, 2 pigs, and I'm not allowed to eat them apparently, but I'd like to, but I'm not allowed. They're pets, not food, and 5 horses and other stuff. So awesome! If you know me, I like animals and like playing around with them. So I get to play with some animals. And sheep are
Sweet.
apparently they're super friendly. They started being my friends now. I didn't. I always kind of thought sheep were a bit skittish, like thinking more like deers and stuff like this. Like yeah, they'll be around you, but they'll bail as fast as they can. But no, no, the sheep once they get to know you will come and hang out and like want to be scratched and everything. It is
That
awesome.
sounds sick.
Yeah, it's kind of that. The pigs are like super friendly as well, and yeah,
Neat.
super friendly but also scary because they're fucking huge. And we were in the field with them the other day, and someone who won't be mentioned, and it wasn't definitely not me actually. Then there were a few of the other people who were visiting us, and yeah, the pigs came into the field or section of the field we were in, and suddenly 3 people were diving over the fence in any way, shape, or form to get away from the pigs, who are super friendly, and maybe one of them was a model from Handstand Factory, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe one of them is a producer. Who knows? Anyway,
And when I was a kid, actually, where I grew up, very often if we left the gate open, the entire kind of garden would be full of cows, uh, because like they would herd cattle past our house. It's like basically that place is outside of the town of Røros, and like it is literally in the forest, and there's only farmland for as far as the eye can see out there. And yeah, suddenly there would be just cattle all over the over the yard. It was great.
I have an unsavory story involving sheep, and a friend of mine that I'll probably have to tell you at some other point. It's not that kind
Show.
of unsavory. Ah, fuck it, I'll tell it. So, yeah, so a friend of mine from, not really friend, it's a person I knew through people. He decided his family had a house somewhere in Ireland, and he decided to, he was from Dublin, they had a house like a holiday home kind of thing. And he decided to move to the house to grow cannabis during one summer or one winter when they weren't using it. So he bought all the lights and set up one of the living rooms with all these grow lights and hydroponics and shit like that. And he blacked out the windows completely, like blacked them out, boarded them up so the light wouldn't get out. But there was something about some, I don't know what it was, but he's saying every day he'd come home, the sheep would be like staring at the windows, the 2 windows on one on either side of the wall,
Hmm.
staring at the window, just like it was like sheep Jesus or something was about to appear through the window. They
Police,
weren't,
Jesus.
yeah, like they weren't like, yeah, they weren't thing. It was something maybe the home, I don't know, maybe the lights gave off some frequency or some weird shit like this, or maybe they just wanted the weed. But yeah, they weren't eating anything. They just stand there, and he had to get a dog to scare them off, and the dog would scare them off. But then if the dog was inside, they'd come back. So yeah, countryside is weird.
Certainly is. What are we talking about today, other
That's
than
it.
sheep?
Sheep. And are you a handstand sheep? Do you
Yeah.
just do the straight line? Have you followed? The Federation is actually the farmer from what was it, Babe? And
Question the line, guys.
question
Question.
the line. No, we are talking about the fight. And yeah,
Fight.
I suppose
Round one.
round one
Fight.
fight, the eternal fight with gravity and your face, and everything to do with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of
Good
one of those
topic.
things. It's one of these topics is vague, but very. It's like, how do we describe fighting? Well, yes, no, and maybe, but I know it when I see it. And I think that's one of the things that go like, there's fighting, there's giving up, and there's failing to fight. And these are kind of interesting things because it happens at like the fight occurs at every kind of level of handstand training, but with different reasons. But it's all for the same thing: fighting to keep balance, fighting to achieve the task you decided to do. And it's kind of like, for me, we see it like when beginners. There's fighting and surviving is one of the things I like to think about. And fighting is when you're actively trying to use force to save your predicament. Surviving is when you're either, how to describe it? It's, once again, it's an easy thing to see, but it's difficult to explain. Fighting or surviving is when you just manage to find the perfect alignment, or you're managing to catch the balance waves and it keeps you on top of it. Fighting almost has an element of preempting to me. I can see people are reacting fast enough and trying to re-establish their positioning.
Yeah. I think that, like, I mean, I'd like to kind of also define the fight a little bit, because
Yeah,
it's a very it's a concept that is extremely simple to, because, like, oh yeah, the word fight, I mean, it sounds right, so it must mean that it is about doing absolutely whatever or like whatever it takes to save your balance, or like to manage whatever you're trying to do. And that's not necessarily, or that isn't the point of it. Uh, the easiest image to imagine is someone almost falling from a handstand. Their arms are red and they like struggle and bend their arms and have to scream to get back up. That's, yes, that is also a fight, but it's more kind of the principle of trying to be in the how to say, the mental space that is required to balance. Like, it is concentration, it is the focus that you just need to have to execute the task.
yeah,
And like within that, like, I love to kind of describe it as um like you are fighting the impulse to fall down whenever, like, you kick into handstand, and like it's not completely perfect, but you make a quick correction and then it's perfect. Like, you're, as you said, Emmett, like, you're
yeah,
preempting, you're ready for it. uh, but it is also that thing where, like, you're almost holding the handstand, you're barely surviving, you struggle, okay, you drop. That can be valuable too, but like, it's important to make sure to speak about it as a kind of, it's a concept and a notion, and it doesn't mean that every single time you kick into handstand you should do whatever you can to stay up. It's not necessarily that, and this will have to be discerned between, like, that will vary between different stages of learning and with different skills and so on. Like, let's say you're doing a negative press to handstand, and you start out well in a good handstand and you pull your legs to your body as hard as you can. You're doing eccentric strength training at a very maximal level compared to what your body can do. And as you approach bottom, yes, you're going to struggle and you're going to fight and you're going to use a lot of force. Whereas if you're working on extremely precise, super tight, minimalistic balancing, let's say on one arm, where your task is, I'm going to stay as still as absolutely possible, you also need to fight. It's just that needs to be okay. I'm going to stay in this one place. All my mental and physical focus goes to that. Boom. You stay very effectively. You stay very locked. You stay very tight. All of this. but it's still part of the same concept.
Yeah. I think it's one of these things. Is like you have to choose when you're going to fight as well. And I will put this into people's programs. Like I will specifically put it in cues like, do not fight for balance in these moves. We're training pure precision in this set, and this is it. And there's no fighting. You lose it, you lose it. And then there's other times when I'm just like, I just want you to get onto your hands and stay there. I don't care what happens. And I think it is good to make a choice. I always like people to make a choice or know what they're doing in a set before they go into it. You know, have one thing. It's a great thing from Yuri. He said last week or 2 weeks ago on the podcast. Just have one thing you can only focus on one thing. So pick it rather than decide it when you're on the fly when you're up there. So it's like, oh, you can change focus as well, so you can't. But just picking like, oh, I'm going to focus on one thing. I'm going to try and stay on, and I won't worry about my line, or I'm going to try and get the best line I can. And my fight almost becomes like maintaining the line over all else. And then it's like, oh, I fall out, but I fall like a falling tower. Still pretty good. You still maintain the line. Or this kind of thing. The fight can happen at many levels. You know, the simple fight, like I suppose a lot of people can relate to this when they're, for all of your like 30 to 60 second 2-arm handstand, keeping your feet from flailing around when you're doing a handstand. That's a fight when you can balance and your foot's doing the foot radar, to quote someone. Like that's a fight. And then to deal with the cramps and all the stuff that come up from a toe point or a foot flex are also definitely things that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think like one of the most common ones I see that I'm very excited usually when I see with beginners, like after having like taught so many beginners at this point, like when I see that like someone they're able to get up, like even regardless if they use the wall or not, but like they are working on learning to balance on 2 arms. So like there will be some imperfections, there'll be some dents in it, and like it's happening. But at the point where like they're able to, they've already been able to hold the handstand for a little bit, but at the point where you start of like they stay in the handstand, everything is okay. You see the shoulder move slightly, maybe the shoulder closes and like the legs spike a little bit or whatever happens, but you see the reaction towards underbalance and the re-establishment from there, like those kind of first hints towards catching underbalance, because that makes me always go like, okay, yes, now like the body has, and the proprioceptive system has understood how to respond in both directions, and the shoulder control is good enough to also handle the shoulder moving forwards. The flexion strength is there, the reaction is there, and the person is able to pull back, because that is a huge one. And that is kind of like it usually comes when people have developed the strength enough and all of that. And usually like the first times people catch that, it'll be like and it comes back and they're absolutely mentally exhausted afterwards. It's like, whoa, that was a lot of effort to just keep it. And like a couple of months down the line, it's just basically taken for granted and a very simple thing to do. But you need to kind of embrace that kind of moment of expanded time that you feel when you're balancing the handstand. It feels like 10 seconds, and you're just staying there, and you're staying there, and you're staying there, and you're trying to handle a situation, like allow that moment to be very focused and to just stay up on the hands. That is your job right now.
Yeah, it's definitely one of these. How to describe it? Yeah, I'd agree. When you see the first time when someone saves under balance, and like I'm not just talking about like, oh, we went over balance and we're resting on the fingers a bit and we went to straight and then back, but when it's a proper like, shoulders closed, hips closed, save, and then straightening back out, it's definitely it's definitely a big stage in your training when you're starting. It's one of the first it's one of the first things I'm looking for as well when we see someone's like setting the two poles of over and under balance in the person. It's like, oh, now you know what they are. There's another thing you kind of touched on there. It's like, those sets, like what mightn't even last long or mightn't push the person's conditioning to their max, but mentally destroys them. They're the sets I really enjoy watching to a certain degree. It happens at all levels. It happens at 1 arms. It happens at like 2 arms. It happens when you're just doing conditioning. But when there's something about like you've had pure focused engagement of both mental and physical and possibly emotional everything into that balance. You put everything into it, and then you come down, then you have to rest 10 minutes before you do the next set.
Mm.
And it mightn't even, like, that's the thing, it mightn't even be challenging your strength. It mightn't, like, you know, you might be perfectly strong, but you just say you're doing a press and you can press normally, and you just decide, okay, I'm going to do 5 reps, and you get to rep 4 and you come out of your groove, but you can still kind of like, it's that kind of like pause rep, and then the body shakes and goes a bit weird, and then you get it, and it's like, but normally I could do 5 reps or 10 reps or whatever, but it's like something went wrong. And that's kind of what that's kind of one of the things about fighting, and why I suppose we use the term fight, is there's training, and training is nice, and it gives you a chance to be precise and practice and all this, but a fight is chaos. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen into a fight. And I think that's kind of the state you're looking for, is like, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm willing to deal with whatever comes up with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it's cultivating resilience ultimately. That is what it is for me, because you want to be efficient. You want, like, I mean, that's why we use the kind of terminology of the circles of balance, where you have this point, you want to be equally comfortable in that really good, smooth, perfect point as you are in the rougher ones. And you want to make sure that each circle, and if you don't know, I'll briefly just explain these circles. So, like, imagine, like, you have several circles, like, around each other, growing larger, and within the smallest one is your kind of, it's your perfect form. Everything feels good and it looks good, and it's easy to execute, and it feels perfect. These happen rarely. I mean, these are the ones that, like, when you have your really good day, or like the stars align and you feel glorious. And then outside there you have a circle which, like, it looks good and it feels good, but, like, you're still putting a little bit of effort in. You could do it all day, but, like, it's not that kind of stellar quality. It's good, and it's kind of a standard where you want to be. Outside of that, it's like, it's like a larger circle where, like, it still looks good to the untrained eye, but, like, you're putting some effort in to stay. And someone who knows what they're looking at, like another professional, or like someone, they might be seeing, okay, you're putting effort in there, you held, but yeah, you did a good job, but it wasn't perfect, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Outside there, like, things are starting to get rough, and, like, you form is starting to break, and anyone can see that, okay, you're expending effort here, staying. um Outside there is a phase where, like, it is super rough, and unless you do absolutely whatever it takes, you are going to fall. And outside there, you are falling. So it is cultivating the resilience and the ability to move inwards from the outlying circle, so that, like, you're able to catch mistakes and fix them instantaneously over time. And the fighting then is about cultivating that, because it is a mind state. It is this mind state of, okay, I'm going to stay on my hand, but, like, and sometimes that mind state requires you to literally go to war, but sometimes that mind state just requires you to be fresh and ready and say, okay, I'm going to do this properly now. I'm going to be focused, dedicated, and concentrated when I try, and hence you're going to have a higher likelihood of succeeding. So it's again, just to strengthen the point that it isn't about only the rougher corrections, though.
Yeah.
They have their place too. It is just about, like, when you apply and how you apply, and why you apply it. And there are certain techniques that you cannot do or like certain moves and so on, you cannot do by trying to rough them out.
Yeah.
And there are certain moves that you cannot do by trying to be only ultra precise. So yeah, it's just about this kind of the range, and the kind of that there's a uh, there are different things might require different levels or abilities, kind of.
Yeah. I think one of the things is, like, you kind of touched on there a little, is the idea of, like, choosing what you're fighting. Not all fighting is the rough ones, but one of the things is, like, single point fighting. I was kind of talking to one of my students today about this, and he's flexible. He's got a split now recently. It's pretty good in his handstand. His one arm, his balance is good. It still needs work. But his one flaw and his one thing is that he drops the shoulder. And once he drops the shoulder, it's gone. The set is gone, no matter if he's up at it like endurance liver or anything. So it's just like, this is like my motivational talk today was just like, keep the shoulder high. This is it. This is your fight. This is, if you can keep the shoulder high, you will balance the handstand until your fingers collapse. But if the shoulder drops, then he's gone. He doesn't have the capacity to save to the inside yet. And it's just like, well, we could train that, but I'm not going to because its technique is so good on the straddle arm, or on with good shoulder high. So it's just like, this is it. It's like kind of picking like one cue. And like, this is the thing, if he maintains the shoulder high, everything looks pretty effortless. If the shoulder drops, then it's like chaos. Whereas if you can maintain, it's kind of, if we're going with the fight metaphor, he is Leonidas. His shoulder height is Leonidas and the Spartans. And if you can keep his Spartans keeping the shoulder high, then was it the Turks or was it, I can't remember, Xerxes and whoever.
Yeah, well, that was the Persians. I think.
Persians, Turks, yeah, Persians. Yeah, the Persians will not be able to pass, and he will not be able to fall out. But and like once the shoulder drops, then there's like 10,000, 20, 100,000 different things that can go wrong with his handstand, and they will be unsavable. But if his Spartan shoulder can stay high, he will be able to just maintain the pass and not get all the crazy corrections go in. So it's that idea of like just knowing, like, it once again comes back to this: pick one thing, fight one front. And that kind of thing is like, oh, if you know you make a constant mistake, and then every other mistake is a probably trickle-down effect of that, fighting all that and putting all your might and intent on maintaining that correctly can go a long way to just going like, oh, this is it. And then, you know, when you do maintain it, then your position will be effortless and your changes will be effortless and your corrections, whatever. But if you have one flaw that you make, and then you make the flaw, then everything goes to chaos. So it can be as simple as that, of just like, there is one form point, and you pick the form point, and then if you can maintain that, everything else is correct. Whereas if you drop that one thing, then that's the linchpin of your balance, and it's different for everyone. Or maybe not different for everyone, but there's subgroups of these things, but it'll be different in everything. So then it's like, oh, pick one thing and fight that. That's your battle. Make your Spartans.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, like regarding the kind of the chaos metaphor, and the, like, because whenever you are entering into a new skill, something that is completely that you haven't done before, and that you are like, you need to build all the kind of frames of reference for it. And I mean, the most striking examples are obviously the beginner learning 2 arms and the intermediate learning on 1 arm, because you're just entering into something that you just don't know how it's supposed to feel yet. Whereas if you can stand on 2 arms, and everything else that you're going to learn on 2 arms is going to feel like a variation of the thing you can. Yeah. So the frame of reference exists. And the same with the 1 arm. Like, if you can straddle 1 arm, like, yes, there's a bunch of things that like are changing, but like most of the regular shapes is going to balance wise feel exactly like that. It is just going to either be more intense in certain points, but it'll be a variation of what you can already feel. But when you're learning this, like your vestibular system and your brain and everything is just trying to handle all this new stimulus, and like, yeah, picking a thing that you're focusing on. And like, for me, when I think about like what is my primary focus point when I do all these things, is I guess it's kind of a general point or area in my shoulder, and it is kind of the fleshy part of my thumb. Those are the 2 main points that I will in general have as focal points. And then depending on the position, there might be like a reach with the arm, or kind of like a pulling the leg towards here. And obviously, since I've reached a reasonably high level of handstands, I would assume that I have more points unlocked on my handstand skill tree, so that I could slot in several more focal points than someone who's completely new. And I would also assume the same that like the thing I always say, like put me on a trampoline and I have precisely one single or a half a thing that I can focus on, but take a boss trampolinist and it's going to be able to concentrate on several things. So uh, depending on like the level of the difficulty of the thing that you're working on and the your ability level, you'll need to concentrate on fewer or more things. And like I mean, if you again take a beginner that is working with the wall, and uh, they and on the wall they can then focus on getting correct form, then moving into balance. So they have the form and then they have the balance, but then you put them freestanding and like, okay, some stuff is going to give, but because they have more chaos to deal with, and they need to fight more variables, they need to handle more of the stuff that happens when they get up. uh, so uh, there it is going to be very obvious that it's going to be harder for them to kind of maintain all of these focal points at the same time. So I think it is in general quite a good cue, as you say there, to just make sure, okay, I am going to concentrate on this particularity now. And when I think also about like some of my trainings where I mess around a lot, where I'm just like, I get an idea and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go and do this, and I kind of have that mind state where I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm trying to achieve with this set. I'm gonna half freestyle it. It's very often that I go up and I mess up something rather easy because I'm not actually I'm like the level of readiness isn't there. Whereas when you're okay, I'm going to put my hand exactly there. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
Then like you're putting your mind state in somewhere where you can direct your energy basically.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I'm thinking we're going deep today, so I'm just have to think more. It's kind of there's one of these things that kind of I'm just mulling things over as you're talking, and one of the things, two things I want to say. One, there's a quote I really like, and this is slightly out of context in what you just said, but I don't know who said it. Whoever knows can email it to me. But precision beats power, timing beats speed, and panic wrestling gets you choked out. So obviously talking about MMA, but it is this kind of idea of precision. Precision beats power. You're hitting the right bit. Obviously we're talking about fighting today, so we're going to use the fighting metaphors. You're hitting the right bits, but you're being precise with one thing. That will be using big corrections. So if you can hone your fight into one precise thing, which is the linchpin, going back to my linchpin idea, then it beats all the power you'll have to use for that. And then timing, if you can do your things at the right time, they're always going to be doing them fast at the wrong time. And then panic wrestling, that's kind of, I suppose, what's that, protest legs? Protest legs is panic wrestling. When you're kicking your legs
you're
and
falling already, and you just kick your legs and you're like, I'm not gonna fall, but you've already fallen. Rage.
But you get some suspension moments out of it, and
yeah,
that's kind of.
Or it's when you do the snake and you try to tuck jump up, even though you know you can't tuck jump. You're just going to try to tuck jump a million times, and you jump to tuck. Your shoulders move behind your hands, and you shoot your legs up in this like praying to the handstand gods that somehow you're going to stay, but you were never really up anyway, and you fall back down.
Yeah, you're making an offering. Let's change that. Making an offering to the Federation by your feeble attempt at a tuck and hoping that they will bestow you with balance. And unfortunately, you did not do the Federation approved form, so therefore you fell down.
Rejected you.
The council has rejected your application. Please submit again next year.
Everyone is sitting around like around the dark table. Everyone is wearing cloaks. that is how the council looks. Yeah, but it's I think it's a cool kind of philosophical concept, this in application to the entire learning process, because it's as you said, it's because like the fight. I mean, it is a kind of a concept that has nothing to do with handstands, and yes, it's just like it's a metaphor, it's a symbol, and it's a way of expressing a certain thing that you need to focus on certain times in your learning curve. And I think that like that term is much more easy to kind of to describe if you just take like conventional strength training or repping out. That like, I mean, if you go in for your 1RM, like you're like fight is the only thing you need to do. Almost, you put in all your force, all your technical setup, everything, but you go all out, And it's we do that with handstands in that way. But then again, you if you do a 1RM deadlift, sure, there's loads of technical things I guess that you need to focus on, but like there are fewer and more just about like applying all that force in the right manner compared to if you want to do like a perfect one arm kick up to handstand. So it's it needs to be yeah, like that mental state and the correction or like the direction of force in the proper way, and like being fucking ready, because it's so much about like having that kind of extreme readiness, because the faster you are at the corrections, the less violence you need to like the and in sense like, and I think this is kind of fascinating because a lot of people have a tendency to also misunderstand certain things, and particularly with one arms and stuff. And I'm sure you've seen on the upper back of people doing a one arm, you see kind of this like twitching happen in kind of the traps and in the
gremlin,
area
I
there.
call it.
And I'm sure
I call it the gremlin.
Yeah, good name. But I'm sure that like if we could somehow image the rotator cuff muscles and the ones that are keeping the ball in like the humerus in the socket, we'd see a lot more of the twitching, because that's where like loads of very quick, small, minute corrections need to happen several times a second, and those need to be extremely quick. And I mean, we that makes it so that like of course the more stable you are, the longer you can stay, because you're of course also using more like slow twitch fibers and blah 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 blah. But there is like quite a lot of fast stuff that is happening while you're doing this very slow moving position. And I think that by being ready and like by having that kind of focus, you're allowing yourself to correct faster, which makes you move less large.
Yeah, it's definitely the precision, I suppose, aspect. Precision beats power. Smaller, faster corrections, or yeah, it's kind of just reminded me. Actually, this is a segue onto some actual hardcore training stuff. That I remember one time I was having some, I wouldn't say issues. I was having some kind of rotator cuff jank that wasn't making me happy. And I was working up to normal rotator cuff strength, and that wasn't. And I got the idea from reading some of the rotator cuff actually contains a high percent of fast twitch muscles, and a high percentage of fast twitch motor fibers. And it kind of makes sense with a stabilizer that has to rapidly correct. But a lot of rotator cuff at the time I was training was, the normal sort of physio stuff. I was still in circus school at the time. Slow band work and dumbbell work and stuff like this. So I started training dumbbell snatches at speeds. First with a kettlebell, then when we ran out kettlebell weights, just using a barbell. And that done wonders for my shoulder in terms of just like, because there's like, you're pulling, you're doing it fast, and then like you have a sudden shock loading with a barbell overhead that you have to stabilize and catch quickly. That was pretty awesome. I was doing a lot more basing then, so it was more for handstand stuff, and there's definitely or basing people in handstands. It definitely worked. So there's just to try out a training tidbit. If you're wondering why your rotator cuff training isn't working, try go faster. It's
interesting. I've actually never done any like high speed work on that. Maybe I should also try that.
Yeah, it's definitely like it is one of these things that segueing in training stuff, but we do know moving fast is good for strength training, and handstands we go slow, and it's very hard, like particularly with the skills that we have, to get fast at them. So training some of the handstand like aspects of your training, which even if you're just doing dumbbells, but trying to replicate the positions and moving fast can be beneficial.
Yeah, it's
just to do like
rotator. It also, it made me just think of like one of the fastest and most terrible corrections I've ever done in handstands, and I injured myself then years ago. I was doing turning one arm on one cane up high in knitting piece, and I mean I performed that turning one arm probably 270 times or something like that, and it rarely went wrong. I think I fell from it one time or so when the structure was like unstable underneath or on the floor, but It was like a very safe move, but that night when I did it, because I was doing a press when I went up on the cane, um, and when I pushed, I accidentally turned the block slightly too far because this was a turning block. So I was like, I had to keep the block in place when I was going up, but I had turned it too far. So as I was doing the turning one arm,
Yeah.
my hand was always turned a little bit too far, and I was trying to kind of catch up to it all the time. And it was just like it was terrible. But like I was so kind of hard focused on just doing what I usually did, and it was like the entire show at that point was like running a script.
Yeah.
Like you just press play and you just went through the motions with the music, and it was super kind of easy in one sense, because of that habit. So I just went like normal, but like I was so far behind the arm in the end that like I made some sort of mistake. And I remember like my legs start dropping, and like I quickly whip my other arm in the opposite direction, bend my arm super heavily because like there was no other way to actually do anything since the wrist was so far turned. And I was able to save it and rough it up and like kind of go back down, and finish the show. And like the day after, I was like, "Ow, here's some shit happened." And uh, I like that's something I've had like happen to me several times on stage, where stuff where you drop in training because like, you know like, okay, things are going south, no point for me to keep this, and you just let it go. But when
Yeah.
you're on stage, like you just have that kind of like death and glory kind of attitude to it, and like you just like do dumb shit. So that in that sense, and that's something to pay very close attention to also in terms of fighting. Like if you start like don't push yourself to pain just because you want to push maximally or go hard in the thing, then you're just making bad worse. And like last time I did this kind of thing was when I did like last year. And I think like the kind of shoulder issue I've been going through this year, I think has like actually come quite a lot from a bad switch in straps I did when I performed last year. Because like the classic switch problem, like I started with good spin when I went up, but I lost too much spin until the point where I was going to do the switch, and I rush it a bit because I was on stage full on music. So I open too quickly when I'm going to go from front meat hook to a reverse meat hook. I come to the reverse meat hook, and like I'm basically in a one arm back lever, and I just pull it into the flag or like into the reverse meat hook position. And you're just not supposed to do that because it's a really bad idea. uh, and if this was in training, I'd let it go easily, but I was like 5 meters in the air, and it was like the last thing I was going to do. So I just ripped it in, and hey ho. I remember my shoulder wasn't feeling very pleasant the days after that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
in those contexts, there is certainly a negative aspect to this.
I'd almost say fighting on straps is yeah, something that should
It's
probably be
pretty
avoided.
bad idea
Yeah.
unless you really know what you're doing.
Yeah. Even then, like it's just I don't know, straps have claimed so many. There's a time to fight and time to run away, and
Yeah,
straps is not the time to send your Spartans in my opinion.
definitely not.
Straps has claimed a lot of
Straps,
shoulders.
it has claimed a lot of shoulders,
Yeah.
including mine several times. Um, and I think the same goes also for showing off. If you're like, hey guys, check this out, like that in general isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
We used to say that in circles to go like, never try to style it because you're gonna fuck yourself up. And then we always tried to style it, and then we fucked ourselves up.
Yeah. It is kind of like, yeah, if you're going to show off and you have to fight during your show off, just quit because you've already failed.
Yep.
It has to be smooth.
Yep.
It has to be
True.
like,
Yeah.
boom, we'll check what I'm doing. But actually leads me to the next thing I want to talk about is some of these things that I suppose a lot of us like would be training by ourselves. One of the things I've noticed, as I haven't been one to do, is when you're in the group, the ability to fight is kind of directly proportional to the group energy. And it's
Yep.
always one of these
Good
things
point.
that it's kind of, if maybe you're a bit more extroverted, maybe you're a bit more introverted, or maybe you're balanced, or maybe you just are ambivert. What's these talents? What are these crazy labels kids are giving themselves all these days? Anyway, yeah, so in group and in class, this is why like handstand classes and going to them and other stuff, it kind of, one, there's always a bit of learning from the group and visual kinesthetic learning, if you're that kind of learning style, happens. But then it's kind of, there is a bit of like, oh, I'm doing this act to show off to the group or to get validation or just to because I want to or I've been inspired. And it kind of increases your fight quotient. And you just see people like, even, I see people at all levels, one arm all the way to beginners. And when there's a kind of group and people have settled into the group and it's not new, then that's when the interesting thing happens, when it's like, oh, suddenly someone has just like tried to do something. It could be a simple like straddle to tuck handstand, but they normally wouldn't get it, or it would be normal difficult, and they just get that fight and the perseverance, and they're just like not going to come down because the group is there, not because they're just not dedicated to their own training, but it just gives that certain, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, as the French would say, I don't know what, and it just kicks the fight into an extra gear.
Totally. When I was dancing breaking, like we just call this like, you just had to have the juice. If you like, and you got the juice from those situations. You just like, and I remember it particularly when I was training Flair to 90. Like if the music was booming and everyone was there, and you just like, okay, I got it right now. You could fly. But then you go in alone and like, okay, there's a very powerful thing. Like, well, something I've experienced very much, and I'm sure that other people can relate to this. And I would really like to hear if any of you out there have experienced kind of not just a corona related kind of, okay, my life sucks kind of thing because you can't do so much stuff, but like if you're training, if you just physical capacity to do things just has felt like it's dropped. I would love for you to get back to us about that, because for me, like I've trained like almost exclusively alone for almost a year now. And there's been so many times where I just come in and like, okay, I'm going to do my stuff. I'm ready. I've had a coffee. I've eaten, and I just come in there and it's like, oh yeah, I'm just a dead flesh heap that isn't going to do anything productive whatsoever. And it's been like, of course, fluctuating up and down, but compared to that kind of just the sensation that you have when you are like you just described, you're with a group of people, you're having fun, there's a social interaction, there is, of course, it's the part of it is kind of like you're showing off to each other, or showing each other, or like regardless of the social dynamics, and it's irrelevant. It's just part of human nature to interact and to get something from the group, to give something to the group, and to have this kind of vivid relationship that happens there. And I think that like it's obviously very, very important for the kind of general sensation when you train. And it would just be interesting to hear how others have experienced this, because at least for me, it's been enormously massive in its in the way it's impacted me. And actually tomorrow I'm going to go to the circus hall. There is an open training there then with like, there's not that many people, but I do know several people that'll be there. Yeah. I can't wait to just like be in a space with other people and do this thing again, because it's just such a different experience. And like that like you just get an edge that you rarely see when you're that secluded, I feel.
Yeah, I think getting that edge is kind of an interesting thing in the fight, I suppose. Yeah, just now said, going back to edges and swords and sharp weapons and other things to fight, but
you're not going to stop this one, are you?
No, I'm sticking with this for the whole episode.
Yeah,
we've only got a bit longer, we're almost at the end. But yeah, there's two ones actually. One, just now we're on the edge analogy or metaphor. Like fight, the ability to fight allows you to get closer to the edge, would be a way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be the edge of your skill, that could be the edge of your conditioning, or your total technical ability. And that's kind of what we're talking about. So this is why it could be really precise, like an edge is really fine, or it could be really blunt edge, like an axe or something. But there is an edge, and your ability to fight is how close you can get to the edge before you fall off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I should stop right there. That's very profound. I've been having a very profound day today. I've had a few other profound things where I'm like, shit, I need to turn that into a meme and make $1 million off the stock market with it.
Just walking around being profound today.
Yeah, it's one of those days. I had one of those when I was talking to here's a marketing tip. I was trying to explain my marketing process to someone, and it follows this thing where it just said personality, progress, and process. And I was like, hold on, 3 Ps. I was like, oh wait.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh wait, that's actually my marketing thing. Here's a marketing tip. So people buy in fitness based on your personality more so than anything else. But they need a certain things of things. So they need progress, which is show that people can get results with you. And then most of the time they want to see that you have a process to get that progress. So it's not just a one-off. If you have the 3 Ps and someone can see those 3 Ps and likes them, then you will have a sale. Or then they'll be interested in training with you. Or they'll watch your videos, whatever it is.
Ka-ching.
So, ka-ching. Where's my cash register stand? Hold on, I got something. Is that? Yeah, there you go.
Finally, you got to use that fucking thing. Great.
Yeah. So there you go. There's my marketing tip. But where was I being profound? Yeah, there's one more element of the fight that I really want to talk about, and it's almost, we should call it the chase. It's kind of it's like when you're just on the edge. Once again, we're back to the fight. You're just on the edge of getting a skill, but you can't do it yet, and you need to just do it a lot. But it's a different quality than mindlessly throwing reps out. And once again, it can happen from people who can, jumping to a straddle handstand or a tuck handstand, all the way to like shifting over and coming on the 4-finger support in a one arm, or something else. And it's this idea that like, oh, you can, like, you have the scent of this move. You can feel that it's going to happen, but it's not happening yet. And you just need to keep doing it. And that's kind of like that perseverance that I think comes in the fight as well. That it's like, oh, I might need to try this like 100 times, 200 times, 300 times before I get it, but I know I'm going to get it. And that's kind of, it's, there's a confidence to it, but there's also like almost an anger at the movement. Like I always find like people are genuinely angry when they're on the chase, that they're like, this move is dishonoring me by not happening when I want it to happen. It's different when like you see people who are just like, the classic, someone mindlessly doing tuck ups and trying to tuck up the handstand, and it's just not going anywhere. But there's someone who can control it, steer it a little, but the reps are always slightly different. And you see there's a certain anger. I don't want to say frustration. It's like angry. It's like, why are you disobeying me, move? Why is my body disobeying me? Why? It's all like this thing. It becomes a fight with that move in particular, not just like handstands or not just training. It's like this move can be like that sole focus for my existence at the moment.
Yeah, that's the obsession. Like I remember like when I said that to Helgi actually years ago when we were in Portugal, and he was like really close to getting his one arm.
Yeah,
and he was training like outside, like after we had the classes and stuff. And I was like, okay, now Helgi, now is when you're going to get your one arm, because now you're just like, you can't leave it alone. That's just watch out for your fucking wrists. But now is when it's going to happen. When it's just like, it becomes this kind of, like you say, sole reason for your existence. I mean, it's a dumb thing to say, but like you need kind of a touch of that for certain things to kind of, or for certain breakthroughs. I think it happens a lot also with people that are quite new, that like they've tasted that kick up. That was fucking,
you got
sweet.
The scent of it.
Yeah. And like I had like clients who just come to me and say, yes, I did the program now for a few weeks, but like at work there is this wall, and sometimes I just go there in the breaks and I do like 50 kick ups. I'm like, okay, yeah, watch out for your wrists, don't tire yourself out, but yeah, great, you're officially a nerd. And I think that like this is such a it's kind of a transformative moment where you find this excitement for it. And I think this is a really, really important thing too. And that's also something to not be misunderstood with this kind of fighting metaphor, that it's all this kind of violent and miserable and depressing process. Like, of course, it's depressing enough for enough of the time of all the energy that you need to invest to learn and things. But I think that you need to remember that like there's quite a lot of excitement to be had there at certain points too.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of like, I don't know, watching a lot of Star Trek, we kind of killed Next Generation and Deep Space Nine over lockdown. which is great to go back to them. But the Klingons in are a perfect example of fighting. They go do their fighting and they're all Klingonish and they're basically space Vikings, let's face it. But then, after the fight, there is like glory and blood wine and songs and all that. I'm showing my power level now. I really need to stop that. Anyway, but like there is a hunt of like, oh, I've achieved the fight and now I have glory, which I can show to people on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That is like we were basically all Klingons. Digital
Handstand Klingons. Need to get the cool outfits as well.
These are my what's it called? This is where I pillaged.
Yeah. This is where I pillaged. Yeah, I think I'm at the end of my fighting points. I am fighting to get more metaphors here so I can continue to make the bad jokes.
Yeah, I think it's it's a good topic, and it's one for a philosophical one that kind of touches upon a lot of things. But yeah, just like again, just to bring it back to kind of the starting point of it, it's about mindset, and it's about the like you need, or it's about the concept that like you need to do something to stay on your hands, like it's not a dead balance, and like you need to learn to do that. And it's also like understanding that while you learn these things, like it might feel rougher for a while until it becomes smoother, and whenever you go outside of your comfort zone, it will start feeling rougher than what it feels inside of that comfort zone, so that like over time most of the stuff moves within your comfort zone. But like it doesn't matter who you are, you can always find something that is going to put you outside of it. Okay, let's say you're the best hand balancer in the world. Okay, now your next task is to do it while carrying a 15 kilo block of cement. Okay, yeah, good luck. It's going to suddenly be a struggle again.
Maybe we should get you some. Yeah.
Don't buy any cement blocks, Emmet.
I think I have some around here. This is amazing. I have like all these cool things. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I think that sums it up nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Other than that, we will see you next week. Though, actually, one more point on this. I'm not gonna let this one go. I think the philosophy got me thinking. It's like, it's one of these things like, it's a very philosophical topic. I think it's kind of this idea that we should do this topic once sober, like we're doing now, and we have to get drunk and do it again. And that's how we can like really hone in on it. We'll get a bottle of mead or something.
Yeah, we should do the drunk cast. Holy fucking shit.
Drunk cast.
That'll turn into a total shit show.
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
Drunk cast. If someone can sponsor us some booze, we will do a drunk cast. We have to wait till you're here, though, to do it in person. Do shots class. Every time we say handstand, you have to do one shot.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also,
everyone has to join in with us.
We need to do it and then just like upload it without editing. Like we need to be fucking hammered. And it's just like, we don't know what we said. And suddenly like, bam, we both went like totally outrageous and we're like smackdown canceled.
Cancelled. Yeah. Whoop. Right. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there on the idea of the drunk cast. Please sponsor us some booze. Other than that, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
The Handstandcast is brought to you by Handstand Factory and is produced by Motion Impulse. Thanks for tuning in. You can find a full transcript of each episode along with the show notes and any relevant references on handstandfactory.com/podcast. Thanks to Isaac for editing and Jordan for transcriptions. Music by Daniel Horwath. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com or consider starting one of our Handstand Factory online programs. Links are in the show notes.